A gute Woche. In the Farbrengen this afternoon, the Rebbe's Lechazinsan began. Before the Rebbe began the first Sicha, she sang the Nigen, Soll schön sein die Geula. And the Rebbe began the Sicha afterwards, referring to the Nigen which was just sung, which is emphasizing Geula. And says the Rebbe, regarding Geula, we find in Chumash various expressions. As we all know, there are four famous expressions which are used to emphasize Geula. V'hoitzeisi, v'hitzalti, v'ga'alti, v'lakachti, which are all actually expressions that relate to Geula. In fact, it's brought in halacha the reason we drink the 4 cups on Pesach, the Dalet Kaises, corresponds to the 4 expressions of Geula. But nonetheless, says the Rebbe, the strongest of all of these expressions is the word v'ga'alti, geula, which this emphasizes geula in the strongest way possible. And there's a deeper message in it. And the message that's in it is because geula is really the same lettering and composed of the same letters as the word goyla, which means gullus, exile. The only difference is Geula has the Aleph, which Goyla doesn't. Which means that all of our accomplishments and achievements, which we have accomplished throughout the Golis, will all be taken along and will all be continuing during the time of Geula. And here says the Rebbe, we also have an answer to those people who think, or if they do, some of them bring it out even in speech. Those who are more open and those who are less open keep it only to themselves and thoughts. And they think to themselves, we are asking so much and we're making such a tremendous campaign about Mashiach, about Geula, such a shturem, and they begin thinking to themselves, throughout all these years, they were so successful and building up a successful business, and building up social contacts, and friendly contacts. And he has built up his contacts not only with Yidden, but with Goyim as well. And this is something which, in order to be involved in communal work, it is needed to have contacts not only with Yidden. Because this was something even in past generations as well. Even Bizman Abayis, Yidden had to have and maintain contacts with non-Yidden. So therefore one thinks and says, we're talking about Geula, we're talking about Mashiach's coming. What's going to be with all this that he has accomplished and achieved and he has built throughout all these years of Galus? So the answer is that Geula has the word Geula within it, which means that whatever we have accomplished and everything that has been done and achieved throughout all these years will all be included into the time of Geula. So there's no room to have any type of worry or any type of second thoughts about Geula. And especially when we are living in a country which is considered a Malchus Shel Chesed, which helps Yidden and assists Yidden in all levels of Torah and mitzvahs. So this leads to it that it helps that we will, each and every one of us will have our personal Geula, and from the personal Geula we will come to the general Geula of the entire nation, all of Klal Yisrael going out of Golus. Furthermore, we are living in a time where we see how Goyim are helping Yidden to get out of Golus, helping Yidden leave their country, as we have all seen recently. That this specific country, which for years, for so many years, it has been hard for Yidden to go out of to leave its country. And now, not only is it not interfering with Yidden leaving the country, but on the contrary, it's helping Yidden to the extent that it's even providing means, providing airplanes, so that Yidden should be able to leave, and leave in a peaceful and satisfied way. So this is all what we just spoke, that the Goyla is going to be, all the accomplishments of Goyla will be going along with Yidden while we are in the position of Giyul. And especially, we're now in the days of Sfira Sa'imah. And we just had the third Shabbos from after Pesach. So this period between Pesach and Shavuos is a time that we are preparing ourselves for Matan Torah. So the minute we mention number 3, 3 again reminds us on Geulah. Because 3 reminds us on the third Beis HaMikdash, which we will have when the Rebbeinu will take us out of Golus. Furthermore, we are now in the middle of these days of Sfira Sa'imah, as mentioned. That the entire idea of Sfira Sa'imah is that a person is purifying all of his midos. As we say every day, beginning from Chesed Shebechesed until Malchus Shebemalchus, which means every bit of every midah is becoming purified and ready for Matan Torah. As we say in the Rabbeinu Shalom, that the attempt of Sfira Sa'imah is L'sakein es nafshoseinu v'ruchoseinu v'nishmoseinu. It is to correct and upgrade our nefesh, ruach, and neshama. And at the same time, it has an effect in the entire world as well. As we continue saying that the counting of Sfira will lead Yushba Shefarav B'chol ha'olamos, that in all the olamos it will be felt the accomplishment of Sfira Sa'imah. And as mentioned, that we are now in the 3rd week from Pesach. And therefore today, after Mincha, says the Rebbe, we will be reciting the 3rd Perek of Pirkei Avos, which begins with a quotation of Akavya ben Mahalalel, who says, Histakel b'shloisha dvarim ve'ein atabon lidei avera. Look into 3 things, and by looking into these 3 things, it will hold us back from coming to a sin. So there's a very obvious question which arises here. Question arises, we know that in Mishnah, every word is accounted for. Mishnah speaks very brief, and therefore every word is extremely accurate. Akavya ben Mahalalel is telling us to look into 3 things, and by doing so it will refrain the person from doing an Aveira. However, why is there a need for Akavya to mention his takel b'shloisha dvarim? Anyone who looks into the Mishnah sees that he's talking about 3 things. Even a little child who's opening his little siddur will also realize that there are 3 things which Akavya ben Mahalalel is telling us to look into. And there's no need to mention his takel b'shloisha dvarim ve'ein atabon lidei avera. Explanation in this is, in these words of Istakel b'shloisha dvarim ve'ein atabon lidei avera, there's an additional message of Akavya ben Mahalalel. And Akavya ben Mahalalel in Pirkei Avos is telling us that a person has to know and remember at all times that there are shloisha dvarim, 3 key factors which involve his avodas Hashem. First of all, he has to remember that he, each and every Yid, was sent down into this world to fulfill the wish of his master, to serve his master. Lisham, as expression of Chazal goes, Ani lo nivreisi elo lishamesh es koini, that my entire creation was to serve my master, to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what he's remembering is himself and Almighty God. But this is not enough. A person at all times has to remember that there is a world which the Rebbeinu has sent him down to. And it is into this world that he has to accomplish and achieve and let it be known that his neshama came down into this world and the world is benefiting from it. As we say in Birchas HaShachar every morning, Neshama shenosato bi tahirahi. The neshama in its origin is each and every neshama of each and every yid, is a pure soul. However, this soul is traveling through various levels. Ata berasa, ata yitzarta, and as Chassidus brings out, the neshama goes through the level of Eilam HaBriya and Eilam HaYitzira, until the neshama comes down into this world, which is Eilam HaAsiyah. And here in this world, the neshama has to accomplish, reach out and accomplish. And that is when the trip of the neshama becomes a worthwhile trip. That is when it is a yerida tzorech aliyah. Otherwise, the neshama is sitting in high heights and absorbing godliness. So for what reason is the neshama going through all this? so that the neshama will be successful in this world. And here in this world, the neshama will reach and accomplish by reaching out in the olam, in the world. So that is why he's saying, Istakel b'shloisha dvarim. There is a need for a person to take three matters into consideration. The Rabbeinu Shalom, himself, and the world where HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent him down to. And here in this world, he's reaching out to people, helping them spiritually, helping them materially, helping them with tzedakah when they need. Tzedakah can be by helping a poor person with finances. It can also be by helping a poor person with a garment. A person may need sometimes a garment. And we have to remember that when we are giving a garment to somebody else, it has to be a nicer and a better garment than what we are using for ourselves. For ourselves, we could do away with simpler things. However, when we're giving something to someone, then we have to make sure that we're giving them the best, especially taking into consideration what the pasuk says: "Va'atem tiyu li mamleches koyanim," that each and every yid is treated like a kohen. The garments of the kohen were all in the category of l'kavod l'sefares. They added beauty and glory to the kohen that wore them. Therefore, when we are reaching out to another yid to help him, and we are helping him with a garment, it has to be a garment that is suitable to this type of a category. And this is the lesson which we derive from all of this, that a yid cannot satisfy himself working with himself, but he has to reach out in his entire environment and in the world that is surrounding him, and with the same force, with the same shturim. And that is when he's having an impact on the entire world. As we have seen recently, stresses the Rebbe, that this country, referring to the United States, has reached out to areas where there are people that are in dire need, that are suffering from hunger and cold, and these special transports have been sent to them, loaded with food and with garments, to help the people that are there, including the small children that are there, and so that they too should be raised and be assisted, that they should be able to grow up as proper human beings. And if in previous generations we had to learn things from Sifrei Musa to come to a realization how HaKadosh Baruch Hu was conducting with the entire world, now and nowadays we have been fortunate enough that we do not have to search for it in Sfarim. We see it the way the world is functioning, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is leading to it, that countries that are at extreme distance one from another should extend help and assistance to help people that are in dire need of it. And this is something that everybody has read about in the newspapers. Even though, regarding newspapers, unfortunately, nobody is asking, is it something which is worthwhile to waste time to read newspapers? But nonetheless, everybody makes their own calculation that in order to be a human being and know whatever is going on in the world, he has to know of all he has to be familiar with all the news and with everything that's happening. In previous generations, especially in the small shtetl, there was no such thing as a newspaper. And they weren't up to date to whatever is happening in the world around them. What they did know was that when a meshulach, somebody that came to raise funds for tzedakah from Eretz Yisrael, he would relate the news that's happening in Eretz Yisrael and in Yerushalayim. And being that he traveled already through many cities, on his journey to raise these funds, he would be able to relate whatever is going on in all of these cities. And especially when people took into consideration that he had to go through such a long trip, travel through so many cities in Shtetl, to arrive in their Shtetl, they took all of this into consideration, and they added in their contribution, which they gave him for the charitable cause which he came for from Eretz Yisrael, or particularly from Yerushalayim. And now we are entering Pashas Emor. Excuse me. In Pashas Emor we learn all about the special halachas of tahara, of purity, which all the kohenim had to be careful with. Each and every kohen had to be careful with the halachas of purity, to the extent that this we see even nowadays. We see the same, that even kohenim nowadays have to be careful. They should not add on, they should not increase any tumah more than the tumah which they already have. So soon we will all be having the Beis HaMikdash and being makrif korbanos in the Beis HaMikdash, where all these halachas will be relevant halachas. And especially the way it's brought out in commentaries of Chumash, and the pasuk va'atem tiyuli mamleches koyanim, that the Rebbe says that each and every yid is in the category of a mamleches koyanim. What does that mean? That each and every yid has the status of a kohen gadol, and the kohen gadol was able to enter the Beis HaMikdash. Not only the Beis HaMikdash, but the Kodesh HaKadoshim in the Beis HaMikdash. I'm sorry. It is the Kodesh HaKadoshim that a Kohen Gadol was able to enter. And Kohenim were involved in eating the korbanos. And eating korbanos, it had to be done in a format of Gedula. Just like kings eat, a royal type of a meal that was. And that is why, when we are expressing the wish, we are wishing that we will all have Geula. And when we will have Geula in a way that each and every Yid will have access to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Because every Yid is in the category of a Kohen Gadol. And every Yid will be blessed with the wealth, just like a Kohen Gadol. It is required that had to be wealthy. The same bracha the Rebbe will give to each and every Yid. And in the beginning of Pashas Emor, we read the expression of Emor, v'amarto is mentioned twice. Emor ala koyanim, v'amarto aleihem. So Rashi brings in behalf of our sages. Why is there a double expression, Emor and v'amarto? The expression is double because there's a responsibility on the older to relate and make sure that the Ktanim are also careful in these halachas. As the expression is, lahazir gedolim ala Ktanim, that the gedolim are responsible to make sure that the Ktanim are also familiar with these halachas and are careful in these halachas. Says the Rebbe, the Taich is, lahazir gedolim ala Ktanim. Lahazir doesn't only mean to caution. Lahazir is meloshen zoyhar, meloshen lichtigkeit. That when the one who is in the position of a Godel is taking out of his time and of his effort, and he is seeing to it to uplift the one who until now is spiritually a cotton, this leads to zoyhar. This bestows a spiritual illumination on the person who has yet, on the person who is now on the level of a Godel, because he has taken out of his time and effort and reached out to the cotton. He is being uplifted and spiritually bestowed with a spiritual zohar, with a spiritual illumination. Especially that we are in this country, where the president of this country has proclaimed to add an increase in the level of education, as we know of his tremendous involvement, to see to it that aid will be given also to parochial schools and religious schools as well. And this will lead to it that the child will be trained to know of the existence of the Beirei Yolam of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and will pray to him. And the same thing, this will reach out to each and every person and to each and every one. And then we will all, Koyanim are considered Zrizim. Koyan does everything very fast. So when a Koyan, all Yidden going into the category of Koyanim, as we just discussed, Va'atem tiyuli mamleches Koyanim v'goy kodesh. So when all Yidden are in the category of Koyanim, all Yidden will in a fast way, just like a Koyan does something, we will all dance into Geula, together with Mashiach Tzidkenu. And when we go to Geula, we know what Chazal tell us, that all the shuls that are in Chutz La'aretz, beginning from this shul, which we are in right now, which is a house of Torah, a house of Avodah, and a house of Gemilas Chasadim, will all be transplanted in Yerushalayim Mir HaKodesh, together with the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi, with the Geula Amitis V'Ashleima. The Rebbe continued in the second Sikha that it is known, there's an expression from the Rebbe Rashab regarding Tanya. The Bechlal Chassidim were always very careful not to give any of their own interpretations in Tanya. However, when this interpretation can lead to an increase in Yira Shamayim, then it is advisable. The same says the Rebbe, it is a day of Yortzeit. Today was the Yortzeit of the Rebbe's brother, Rabbi Yisrael Aryeh. So it's a proper time to bring out the Horoeh, which we all can derive from the name of the Baal HaYortzeit, whose name was, as we mentioned earlier, Rabbi Yisrael Aryeh. Yisrael and Aryeh are both names of Lashon HaKodesh. And Leib is a name in Yiddish. It's a Yiddish name. Sometimes the name Leib comes together with Yehuda, but in this case it doesn't. It's Aryeh Leib. And the lesson which each and every Yid can derive from it is, Bechlal, the name Yisrael, has a shaychus to every Yid. As the word Yisrael abbreviates, Yesh Shishim Ribui, Oisi Yesh Lo Torah. That there are 600,000 letters in Torah, which this corresponds to 600,000 general neshamas which are by Klal Yisrael. And then there are detailed neshamas which are offsprings of these neshamas. So we see right away that it has a shaychus to every Yid. What is the name Yisrael? Yaakov was given the name Yisrael when the Malach told him, Ki sorisa im melakim v'iman noshim fatuchal. You have shown your power, that you have overcame. You have won the battle. The same we are saying here to each and every Yid. Every Yid has this power, which will lead to it, that Yidden altogether will be coming out of Golus with Giyula. And that is the expression Vatuchal. Vatuchal means that each and every Yid has this Yechilas, this power, that the Rebbe has instilled within every Yid, that every Yid can have these tremendous koiches in serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu not only with the Yetzer Tov, but also converting the Yetzer Hara, that together with the Yetzer Hara he will serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And all of this is done with the strength of a lion, as the expression is brought at the beginning of the Shulchan Aruch, Yisgaber Ko'ari, which that is the second name, Aryeh. And here we come to the addition of Leib, because Leib means that it is brought into the spoken language of the country. In other words, it's brought down into day-to-day life, this Horoeh. Also notice that the word Leib begins with a Lamed and ends with a Beis. In the middle there is a Yud. The Yud reflects the 10 Koiches HaNefesh, which every person has. And the Avodah is with the Leib, an Avodah with the heart. And this is something which is extremely emphasized on the day of Yortzeit. And this day of Yortzeit is a day of Yud Gimel. Today's date is Yud Gimel. Yud Gimel equals Echad, which just brings out the Echad of this day, specialty of the day, to verbind it, to relate it with the Echad, with the Rabbeinu Shalom. Which is also what we will be saying to Mincha. By Mincha, the Shmoneh Esrei of Mincha, we all say, Ato Echad, V'shimcha Echad. The Rebbe again brought to our attention something which the Rebbe spoke about a week ago, where the Rebbe urged everybody that it would be extremely appropriate to be meisif, to increase in the learning of Torah, these subjects that deal with Geula, that deal with Mashiach. And as the Rambam writes, that all the Svarim are full with these inyanim, and we find many of it, we find it in Gemara, and we find it in Sefri, and Sefra, and in Medrash, and in Chassidus, also to be meisif in the giving of tzedakah, of helping the poor spiritually, as well as helping the poor that need tzedakah. And also the Rebbe mentioned to be me'era, to bring to our attention on an increase in Kabbalah's Oil Malchus Shamayim, which this is expressed, accepting the yoke of heaven, which this is expressed in the Krishma which we recite daily, in the Krishma of Shachas, in the Krishma of Ma'ariv, as well as in Krishma Shalamita. The Rebbe called for all of those that have submitted Mashke should come up and announce the particulars that they have submitted the Mashke for, and everybody will, all the participants, the entire Kohol, will bench them in all of their deeds. The Rebbe also brought to our attention that from Shabbos we are entering into Sunday, which is the day of Pesach Sheni. And we all know the lesson that Pesach Sheni stands for. Pesach Sheni gave an opportunity to the person who was not able to bring the Korban Pesach on time. Whether he was b'derech rechoika, he was at a distance from Yerushalayim, or he was Tomei. And when we say a person being at a distance from Yerushalayim, that means he's at a distance spiritually from the concept what Yerushalayim stands for. And here the Torah gives even such a person also an opportunity to fill in and to correct whatever he has missed out. As the expression from the previous Rebbe goes, that Pesach Sheni shows us, as his nishta came farfallen, it is never too late. So anything which we have missed out from last year's Pesach Sheni until this year's Pesach Sheni, now is the day when we can rectify and correct all of that. And as we know that Shabbos gives bracha to the entire week, especially to the day of Sunday, which we are just entering right after Shabbos. From Shabbos we come into Sunday. So that hopefully that this day will be utilized properly. Be utilized for Chazidische Farbrengens, and to see to it, beginning from Mitzvah Shabbos, which is the time of Malav Malke, the Suda that has a shaykhus with David Malke Meshicha, and to utilize this day properly. And as we know the famous expression from the Alter Rebbe, how great and powerful Chazidische Farbrengen is, that Chazidische Farbrengen can accomplish more than what Malach Michal can accomplish. And all of this will lead to Hikitza Varanenu Sheikh Neyofa. And then we will be able to hear Torah directly from the Alter Rebbe and from the Siderenu. The Friedeker Rebbe, as the Rebbe said it. Until we will come, that all of this will lead to, that we will find whatever we have not accomplished throughout the entire year, because this is what Pesach Sheni is all about, until we will find the inyan of Geula. As the Pasuk says, Matzasi David Avdi B'Shemen Kochiv Meshachtiv. And as we continue in the next capital, Capital Tzadik, Mainsi Yadeinu Koineneu, and all of this will be with the Geula HaAmitis VaHashlema. This synopsis is done Le'ilu Nishmas Reb Hirsch Moshe ben Reb Ben Zion Ze'ev Halevi. A gute Woche.